My grandmother died a few years ago. It was hard on all of us. She wasn't the nicest person, but she cared for everyone. My mom, my aunts, my brothers, and, of course, me. And as I stood there watching her, the matriarch of our family, take her last breaths, there was only one thing on my mind.
Yo, can I play video games on that thing?
I'm gonna take the song, I'm gonna take it.
This is the Advantech HITW183. In this case, it's branded by Talus Clinical, but I'm just going to call it the HIT. This is an all-in-one PC designed for use in clinical and medical environments. One thing immediately jumps out to me. This device is not the most ergonomic to work with. It has two USBs on the bottom, but the power and third USB is on the back. You know, the place that it lays down on. And there's no stand for it. Well, luckily there's VESA mounting holes on the back. I found a fairly standard designed VESA monitor stand that doesn't need to be wall mounted, and then I could easily work with it. The stand is really stiff, but Next up, power. When I bought this, it did not come with a power cable, and I didn't really know what kind of connector it would need or how many volts I'd need. I bought an AC adapter with a knob that allows you to increase or decrease the voltage as needed, and it also allows you to switch out the connector on the end. Turns out, this device needs a 2.5 by 5.5 millimeter connector and about 18 volts of power. The voltage you can actually find as a sticker on the back, but I didn't know that before the unit arrived. And we're in! Also, no video output on this thing, so as with the Datalux Tracer, we're pointing and shooting this episode with my camera again. So why did I purchase this thing? Well, I saw the listing on eBay and I didn't immediately recognize the operating system. Sure, we have what looks like Windows Vista or Windows 7 era icons and mouse cursor, but then what's that? That is not the Windows taskbar, and if you know anything about trying to rice a Windows install, changing the GUI is far from an easy task, and the more recent the OS, the harder it gets. One big problem though, this thing really wants me to sign in. I can barely investigate anything on this device without signing into this Stratodesk program. I tried to guess a username and password, the usual suspects like admin, various number combinations, but nothing worked. However, I did find that I could right-click on the taskbar, go to About, and now we have an idea of what we're working with. The ICE window manager and Linux kernel 4.10.13, along with a supposedly XP-looking theme. Also, it says something about AMD 64. That's wrong, but we'll get to that later. I don't really think it looks very XP personally, but anyway, this is running Linux. Kernel 4.10.13 is fairly old now. That version goes back to late April of 2017, and IceWM 1.3.8 is even older. That goes all the way back to November of 2013. Still, if you wanted to recreate this look for some reason, now you have a rough idea how. Still, I'm not going to get very far if I can't actually interact with hardly anything. There's no console I can launch or anything like that, and the usual key combinations on the keyboard to access the terminal with no GUI don't work. I also can't look at that anesthesia program without logging in. I looked into Stratodesk and it seemed like this Linux distro they're maintaining is called No Touch OS. Ironic since this is actually a touchscreen device, but anyway. I found a page on their site which states that you can perform a factory reset by holding Control and Shift during startup. Well, I tried that and nothing. I also tried spamming it and nothing. I kept trying over and over, nothing worked. But with a lot of trial and error, I figured it out. I tried pressing Control, Shift, Alt, and Escape and it worked. But it has to be a very specific rhythm. This is bizarre. Doing it too fast will not do what you want it to. So if you try this, you're going to be doing this for a while trying to find the right speed. I did this for a long time just trying to figure it out, and the only way I ever got it to work was with this specific rhythm of these 4 keys. So if you try getting one of these, just know that it is possible, it's just really nonsensical. Also worth noting, escape is what brings you to the BIOS menu, so it's possible to interrupt the button presses and go to BIOS, but I never got this to work without escape being one of the keys. Good luck! After doing that, I'm greeted with what I assume is the default for No Touch OS. I like the wallpaper. There's even a little wizard to get set up with, and honestly, I kind of like their design of the GUI for their menus. Not so much their Windows icons and mouse though. For the passwords, I just made it admin this time. Now, if I go to configuration, I can type in the password and we're in. There's lots of options here. I found a console option under the diagnostic section and bam, we've got a terminal window. First things first, uname-a tells us not much. On a whim, I decided to see if this was maybe a Ubuntu or Debian-based OS and tried sudo apt update. And surprisingly, the command wasn't found at all. Apt update didn't work, update didn't work. After trying some more things, I tried typing su for superuser and it worked. It asked me for a password. Typing in admin, I then tried apt update again. Nope. I then tried -h for the help menu, which didn't work, but then just typing help did work. I've got a list of all the possible commands and wow, there's not really anything here. This OS looks like it's really fully custom, and it's incredibly bare bones. Most of the useful commands I usually associate with Linux are totally absent here. I'd like to explore this OS more, but honestly, there's not much left to even do. There isn't even a file browser. The only thing I have is Firefox. Huh. Why can't I hear anything? Anyway, with that, I decided it was about time that I installed another OS. I'm also not backing up and sharing this OS, not only because I don't know how to, since I can't exactly run dd to generate an image to back up, but also Stratodesk is a company that still exists and still maintains this, so I'm pretty sure it wouldn't exactly be legal to do that anyway. The seller I got this from had a lot of these though, so if you're curious, you can purchase one for yourself. Time to restart the device, which I can only actually do by unplugging the power. Yeah, these buttons on the bottom, they don't seem to actually do anything. Even pressing the power button or holding it down does absolutely nothing, so I'm not sure why they— Turns out that in the BIOS, if I navigate to Advanced and then to Southbridge, there's an option called Embedded Controller Configuration. Going to that shows that all those buttons are actually disabled. Switching them all on makes them work. And listen, the volume and brightness buttons make cute little beeps. The power button only turns off the monitor though, not the whole PC, so to do that I still have to unplug it. There also isn't any kind of secure boot to disable, so we're just gonna hop straight in. I'm installing Arch using Arch Install. You know, I've never actually done a manual installation of Arch on my own. I've never had a reason to. Maybe I should try that sometime. Anyway, the installation went off without a hitch. I gotta admit, I wish this had video output. Not having a direct feed really kinda kills this for me. If only there was a way to— Wait, actually— Hey, that works! Okay, actually I used AnyDesk because it had much better quality, but wow, why didn't I think of this before? This looks great! There is a lot of performance overhead admittedly, so I likely can't do this with anything more than basic desktop uses, but still. Also, for what it's worth, on this device, using Arch, the touchscreen just immediately worked, unlike Debian, but I tried to watch a video, but there still wasn't any audio. I turned the onboard speaker volume all the way up, but nothing. Huh. Okay, I'm going to make a very long story short. I spent hours trying to figure out what was up with the speakers. I never did. I installed all the drivers, made sure everything was enabled, nothing works. In the end, just to make sure the audio does technically actually work, I installed Blues to try to use Bluetooth, and yep. So I think it's something with the speakers themselves, but what that is, I have no idea. Time for some gaming, and yeah, that means we're back to the camera. It was nice while it lasted. Unlike the Tracer, the Hit actually has a quad-core Intel CPU. Don't get too excited though, it's a single thread per core with a base frequency of 1.1 GHz. Oof. Still, hopefully it's at least better than the Tracer was? Well, let's find out. 2 games the Tracer couldn't play were Limbo and Hollow Knight. First up, Limbo. Oh, hey, looks like Mango HUD also just works, Debian! Limbo plays pretty much perfect. Some minor hitching, but totally playable, especially when you reduce the resolution a bit. Hollow Knight, on the other hand, not quite as playable. I mean, at least it runs, unlike it did on the Tracer, but yeah. I tried to reduce the resolution, and at first I thought I just couldn't. The resolution text says it's still 1080p, but looking closer, I can tell that the resolution actually did get lower, and yeah, it plays a lot better now. This turned out to be a frequent thing. I can change the resolution of a game, but it will always claim I'm playing at 1080. I assume it's just Proton weirdness. Next up, Shogo Mobile Armor Division. What, you don't know this game? It was made by Monolith Productions, the people who made Fear and Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Look, I don't want to be a one-trick pony and just test Doom and Half-Life on every device. Let's switch it up. Honestly, Shogo isn't a very good game, but I wanted to include it because, sadly, Monolith was recently shut down by Warner Bros., who also killed my beloved Rooster Teeth last year. Also, Mango HUD is missing. I take it back, Debian, I'm sorry. It seems like whenever I run a 3D game, Mango HUD won't open. It's probably related to Intel integrated graphics, I'm not sure. Anyway, Shogo runs perfect. Divine Cybermancy. Now this is a game. Or it would be if it weren't more akin to a slideshow. I tried changing the resolution, no such luck, it still ran terrible. Unfortunately, I'd give an unplayable rating. I admit I was a little bothered by this. Does run on Source. To be fair, isn't the most well-optimized game. It can have some frame rate troubles no matter how good your hardware is due to limitations of the Source engine, but I don't think it should run this bad. I've run Source games on a dual-core CPU with no dedicated GPU before. So, I broke down. Half-Life 2. Yep, running way smoother. Not great, there's some hitching, but I'd give it a technically playable rating. We're still doing better than the Tracer did though. This device hasn't shut down on me yet. I wanted to really push my luck. Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, which was firmly a 7th gen title. Oh hey, Mango HUD is back. For some reason. What is going on? Now, I want the record to show that I am so fucking cracked at Ninja Gaiden 2 that I can do the opening fight no hit on Master Ninja difficulty, averaging about 16 FPS with major slowdown, stuttering, and enormous graphical glitches occurring. Okay, sure, you might think, well, you just got lucky. Yeah, alright. So here's the second fight. Still no hit, shut your mouth, I am a Ninja Gaiden god. Okay, the honest answer is while I do love and play Ninja Gaiden to death, I'm pretty sure the performance was affecting hit detection. If you look closely, it seems that I was hit by Shuriken and the health bar tries to react but doesn't decrease. Anyway, Ninja Gaiden 2 clearly is too much for this, unplayable. What if we step it down a bit to Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1? Well, it runs smoother, but we've got that whole frame rate tied to game logic thing going on. It's way too slow to play if we're being honest. It would be a giant chore, unplayable. I really want to get a 7th gen action title working though. What about Devil May Cry 4? That game runs on empty framework, which famously had great performance across all kinds of hardware while also looking fantastic. Well, nope. Same thing as Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1. Way too slow, unplayable. Alright, I really need to get my expectations under check. Let's try Devil May Cry 3. I tried to install it and completely ran out of storage, even though I uninstalled everything else. So yeah, here's the thing. The hit came with only a 32GB SSD. Minus the drive space for the OS, minus Steam, we're already missing a lot of that. But if I uninstalled all the other games, why isn't there more space? The answer is Proton. Proton is amazing. It performs small miracles for Linux users constantly, but it's not without its faults. As you use it, you're building more and more of a shader cache over time, something which I imagine a lot of Steam Deck users who aren't used to Linux will run into eventually and be unsure of how to handle it. Suffice to say, 32GB is absolutely unacceptable. Thank goodness I'm on Linux in the first place. Windows would take up way more space. It's time to open this thing up. I removed the VESA mount, and on the edges of the device are a bunch of little rubber hole covers. Digging them out with a tool reveals the Phillips head screws hidden underneath. Taking them all out allows us to slide this back cover off. Do be careful though, as there's a wire that goes to the motherboard that you don't want to remove. At the bottom we have our speakers, which lead to the motherboard here, and what's this? A spare jack that says SPKON1? Is that speaker on one? Like power for the speakers? I honestly don't know. I don't know what kind of connector this is or where I'd get the power from on this board, but this might be the answer to our problems. But wait, didn't I hear the speakers earlier when I pressed the buttons? Well, I'm pretty sure that's the speaker on the motherboard itself, not the actual physical speakers. This still seems really strange though. I mean, why add speakers and hook them up if they aren't going to be powered? To be fair, I'm just speculating. For all I know, SPKON1 isn't power for the speakers at all, and these speakers are just broken. Or maybe there's still something more going on preventing them from working. Your guess is as good as mine, but maybe it's worth looking into at a later date. Delving deeper, we've got these protective covers. Nothing much to it, just some more Phillips head screws of different sizes. There are some wires to be careful of though. Here's our bare motherboard. I didn't immediately see a SATA port anywhere. Turns out there's a bunch of connections for various things lining the underside of the board on the edge. Checking around, I found a SATA port. That was easy. So now it's time to get my SSD. I'm going to steal one from the tracer. What if I... Weird. Anyway, opening up the tracer, we've got our SSD at the bottom left here. I unhooked it, but we have a slight problem. The connector for this SSD, which goes to the motherboard on the tracer, is proprietary. Now, the SATA data cable does work just fine on the hit, of course. The power cable though, it doesn't fit anywhere on the board. Right above the SATA data connector is a port that says SATA PWR1, and it was a port I'd never seen before. It was pretty small with 4 pins. Bear in mind, this is an all-in-one PC. Most power supplies have their own SATA power cables on them, but this is just using an AC adapter. Muse artists on my Discord server, which you should join by the way, links in the description, found that apparently this was used on old motherboards, but I've certainly never seen one. Luckily, I was able to find a cable for this on Amazon. A cable. As in, literally the only one. If you need this cable, there is apparently only a single company making it. So I'll include a link in the description for this. I plugged both the SATA data and power cable in, but there's no mount anywhere for the SSD. I had some intrusive thoughts telling me to superglue it to the inside, but I didn't let those win. Instead, we're just gonna yeah, that's fine. I don't even have a roll of duct tape, so I'm just using masking tape. It's fine. Also, this SATA data cable situation is less than ideal. I can't screw the protective cover all the way down because the data cable is crushed. I found yet another single company making a 90-degree SATA cable, which I do have being shipped, but it's going to take another month, and I'm not delaying this video by yet another month. I'm already way behind. After that, I put everything back together and booted it up. First, I went into the BIOS, and good thing I did. By default, the BIOS disabled that SATA drive, but luckily that cable for the SATA power worked. After that, I was able to go into Arch and reformat the drive. Bam! From 32 gigabytes all the way up to 152 gigabytes in one fell swoop. That said, I'm done testing games. Honestly, I'm not really going to use this for gaming. The actual reason for getting this is that I'm going to use it to watch stuff when I have free time at work. Okay, I can't really portray this, but I have to be honest, this is one of the craziest monitors I've ever seen. It looks fantastic, and the viewing angles are unlike anything I've ever seen before. When I make these videos, I'm filming straight down, meaning I have to look at everything from about a 90-degree angle, and this monitor is crystal clear. Despite the hugely skewed viewing angle, I've been able to see absolutely everything. It's honestly unreal. So that's the main purpose, though it is nice that it can still do some extremely limited gaming. You know, some companies should really come out with a high-powered piece of portable gaming hardware. Ah well, maybe someday. Thanks for watching. You'd be doing me a huge favor by sharing this video around. The more views I get, the more time I can dedicate to making videos on weird and interesting hardware. I honestly can't stress this enough, I really do need your help with this. The ability to self-promote is extremely limited at this time on the internet. If you aren't posting my videos to Reddit, sharing them with friends, etc., my ability to grow is practically non-existent. So please share it. Like, subscribe, all that stuff I hate asking for. Also, thank you to Foxy, Gail, Avery, and Muse Artist for assistance making this video. All of these people are in my Discord server that I mentioned earlier, which can be found in the description, along with the links to the various pieces of hardware I needed to get this working. Finally, apologies to my mother for making a joke about Grandma's death, but I'll remind you I'm turning 30 this year and do not live with you, so you cannot ground me. Alright, that's all for now. Later!